Welcome to today's deep dive, crafted specifically for you. Our mission here is to unpack this massive, comprehensive report on international relations.
Right. Basically exploring how nations cooperate, compete, and, clash.
Exactly. We'll be looking at how countries are graded, the actual reality of economic treaties, and, shifting geopolitical power struggles. So let's just jump right into it.
Yeah, let's start with the grading part. The deep dive kicks off with something called the Responsible Nations Index, or the RNI.
Right, the RNI. It scores countries on peace, climate, inclusive politics, and their economy. And looking at India, for example, they rank 60th.
Which is interesting because the index shows they have a lot of strength in inclusive politics, but, they really get dinged on the climate and economic fronts.
But wait, let me push back here for a second. The source material itself notes that the RNI faces heavy criticism, like flawed methodology and data biases.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's kind of like a subjective high school report card. If the data is inherently biased, why should you, or anyone listening, really trust these global rankings at all?
Well, you shouldn't treat it as an objective truth. It's really more about highlighting what the international community wants to prioritize rather than hard facts.
Ah, I see. So for the hard facts, we need to look at actual economic treaties.
Exactly. Things like free trade agreements or FTAs. Though while FTAs are supposed to promote growth, they also cause a lot of job displacement and trade imbalances.
Yeah, the pending India-EU free trade agreement is actually a perfect illustration of that friction.
It really is. It's completely stalled right now.
And not over physical goods, right? It's stalled over data privacy and intellectual property rights.
Yeah.
Specifically regarding pharmaceuticals.
Right. The disputes are shifting and moving from those economic treaties to, raw geopolitical friction. The report shifts focus to physical resources.
Yeah, let's look at the U.S. and Venezuela. The report examines how their historical oil dynamics have just evolved into complete political instability.
It's a massive humanitarian crisis down there. Hyperinflation is off the charts.
And that threatens regional security and global energy markets, which is just wild to think about. But simultaneously, the U.S. is aggressively eyeing Greenland.
Yeah, they're looking north for Arctic security and rare minerals.
It's like the ultimate real estate grab in a global game of Monopoly. But it makes you wonder, is this U.S. focus on securing future Arctic resources just a strategic distraction?
A distraction from what?
From its inability to manage immediate, messy crises like Venezuela. Like, look over here at Greenland instead.
Well, the report frames it as an existential calculation. The U.S. is expanding its reach because Russia is militarizing the Arctic and China is buying up shipping routes.
They need those rare earth minerals.
Exactly, to guarantee future defense tech and energy independence.
Which introduces a really fascinating paradox. Because while the U.S. is competing for these new resources, they're actively withdrawing from various international organizations.
Yeah, citing financial burdens and multilateral policy differences.
Right.
But by doing that, it diminishes U.S. influence and erodes global trust. It basically allows alternative powers like Russia and China to just fill that void.
So to counter all this instability, the source proposes a new board of peace, right? Made up of diplomats and scholars to handle conflict resolution.
That's the idea the report puts forward, yes.
But think about it like a global multiplayer game. If the biggest player unplugs their controller from the console and walks away, does a newly formed Board of Peace actually have the teeth to maintain international order?
Without the threat of economic or military leverage from traditional heavyweights, enforcement is nearly impossible.
Wow.
It brings diverse expertise, but it risks just becoming a symbolic forum.
It really reminds you how intricately connected global stability is.
Oh, absolutely. From intellectual property disputes in European pharmaceuticals to the scramble for Arctic minerals, it's all tethered together.
Which leaves you with a final provocative thought. As traditional superpowers retreat and alternative nations step up, what happens to countries caught in the middle when the world's next major resource crisis hits?